What's going on YouTube? Lil Unk back again to the reaction. Today we got North London's Bloody Gang War, OFB and 9 Part 2, you know what I'm saying? The last North London Bloody Gang War Part 1, you know what I'm saying? That shit will be at the end of the video, my fault. Stay tuned for that. We're on the road to a bin. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Tell me which one to react to next, man. Follow me on the gram at Lil Unk Official. Without further ado, man, let's get into it. If you ain't watched part 1, I said I'm gonna split into 3 parts. This part 2, 25-minute parts. You see we stopped at 24, 25, you know what I'm saying? Let's get back into it.
Making music and staying away from the streets, or choose violence. Before UK drill had really kicked off, and Tion was kind of making these tracks that sat somewhere kind of between road rap and R&B rap, kind of singing about girls with like a little bit of Afro beats influence in there. He was doing his thing, and his 2016 track Me or The Lifestyle is a prime example of what I'm talking about. You know, it's sort of a love song about finding a girl that you can trust, but set to a backdrop of kind of street shit. It's good stuff. However, the unfortunate truth is, as Tion's buzz was reaching new highs, with him booking shows around the country, even opening up for Rick Ross at one point, sadly, after one of these shows, Tion Wayne would be confronted with a moment of madness, and in a split-second decision, he would choose violence and end up losing everything he had worked so hard for up until that point. As on March the 4th, 2017, Tion Wayne was arrested for a fray after taking part in a mass brawl and stamping on some guy's head outside of a nightclub concert in Bristol. An incident which was captured on CCTV video, but is definitely too raw to show you on YouTube. Anyway, it's said that around 100 people were fighting in the street, some were armed with weapons and others were even swinging the barriers around. For his role in this incident, Tion Wayne ended up being sentenced to 16 months in prison. And he would later rap on his #1 song Body, "When I punch man it's grievous, they played back the CCTV, when I banged him my defense said Jesus." So for the majority of 2017, Tion Wayne was gone, and the momentum that he had been building up in the rap game slammed to a halt too. Ironically though, as Tion was going in, on the territory of his rivals over in Tottenham, the 30-month sentence that Headie One got in 2014 for dealing drugs was coming to an end. In February 2017, Headie One gets out of jail and quickly releases his fresh home song Losses and Winnings, quickly hitting the ground running with his day one homie RV, with them doing up a whole bunch of fire freestyles as a duo. They released a joint mixtape of Drillers and Trappers in July, and throughout the rest of 2017, in the absence of Tion Wayne, RV and Headie One are making some serious waves in music. And not just as a duo, because Headie is putting in that work solo, truly trying to make a name for himself. His Street Heat freestyle was legendary and got people excited to hear more solo hits from him, and in October 2017, his solo banger Live from the T drops and doesn't disappoint fans. So with Headie picking up that heat in the streets, the UK drill scene begins to get more and more popping. And it's not just OFB making progress with the music too, because at a certain point, the Wood Green members decide to get in on the action too. In October 2017, Lamps from Wood Green, along with his homies Rams and Rids, released their drill song No Lies, containing numerous lyrics where Lamps disses NPK rivals, with this track being followed with the song Looking for Who, another track where Lamps from Wood Green says that he's regularly stabbing people from the N17 postcode. And so, with the feud between these areas getting more and more public and finding its way into music, that feud would eventually once again spill out into the streets. And at the start of 2018, there would be a series of high-profile clashes between members of these crews. On the 26th of January 2018, Headie One is attacked by Wood Green members after playing a show at Bedfordshire Uni not far from London. Here, he's confronted by Wood Green members outside of a university accommodation, where he's basically threatened, dragged around, beaten, and kind of chased off the campus, all the while tucking his hand into a man bag as if he has a weapon, but one is never produced. But what's even more shocking than the incident itself is the brazen way those that carried it out filmed the entire thing and posted it up to Snapchat. Once it was up, the footage was circulating quickly amongst the drill community, and people were clowning Headie One heavily for catching what was perceived to be a bad violation. But the disrespect wouldn't last for long, because as Headie One himself said, this L would soon turn into a W, and the very next day a shooting went down in Wood Green, where a 19-year-old man was hit, but he fortunately survived. And in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, OFB member RV is seen dissing the Wood Green ops on Snapchat, seemingly referencing this incident. Apparently even going as far as to drive past the crime scene afterwards, posting a clip on his Snapchat along with some Kermit emojis. Headie also tweeted after this, saying first half he got set up by a girl, second half excellent finish. I guess suggesting that a point had been scored and that they were even now. 3 people were arrested under investigation following this incident, but no one was ever charged. But more importantly, also within a day of this supposed get back, Headie One and RV would jump back on the mic, releasing the biggest drill song of the year, the classic Know Better. The song is all about Headie One basically suggesting that he did indeed have a gun with him that day in the bag, but that he knew better than to pull it out with the ops filming him on Snapchat. Going on to suggest that the ops should have known better than pulling that stunt on him, with numerous lyrics suggesting that the shooting that took place the next day was related to the incident. But stopping just short sort of incriminating himself by replacing any specific details with the ad-lib shh. Something that Heady didn't necessarily invent, but he definitely popularised with this track that many people believe completely changed UK drill for good. No Better was such a huge success that within a month, Heady One had signed a full-blown record deal with Sony's Relentless Records imprint, who re-released No Better commercially. It's kind of ironic that Heady One sort of had to be subjected to a horrible physical gang altercation in order to get the attention that he needed to sign a legit record deal. But how he got it doesn't matter. The important thing was that Heady was now officially on and in the industry, well positioned to focus on music and get out these streets. Unfortunately, however, in the days that followed the No Better incident, the streets of North London would be as hot as ever. And less than a week after this happened, Wood Green members would retaliate, claiming the life of a young man from Tottenham, sparking a violent wave of killings that would go on for years to come.
A message from Fireball.
Come live at home for a while.
Have fun with those student loans.
On February the 3rd, 2018 at 1:30 AM, police were called to Kemble Road at the junction of St Mary's Close in Tottenham after reports of a stabbing. It turned out that a young man named Kobe was driving on this street when he was rammed off the road by another vehicle. Apparently Kobe was a former gang member affiliated with the Northumberland Park area in Tottenham with convictions for violence all the way back in 2012. But by 2018, Kobe had seemingly distanced himself from the streets and was employed as a youth worker, helping troubled people in the community break the cycle like he did. Sadly though, that day when he was rammed by rivals from Wood Green, they didn't care one bit that he had turned his life around and moved away from the streets. So after being rammed off the road, numerous people jumped out the car with poles and knives, attacking Kobe, leaving him stabbed, dying at the scene. And his shocking 999 phone call was even eventually broadcast, where he pleaded to paramedics to come to the scene, whilst Kobe seemingly already knew that it was too late.
I got stabbed.
Where are you, mate?
St Mary's close. St Mary's. I'm dead.
DNA evidence was found in the car on both the airbags and seatbelts, linking multiple Wood Green mob affiliates to the crime, with the suggestion that Lamps from Wood Green was one of the people who had jumped out of the car, attacking Kobe, and another man named Neron Quarty, who was labelled by police as the driver. He was picked up by police and gave a full no-comment interview.
Were you one of the guys with a knife in his hand stabbing him? Were you one of the ones holding him while he was stabbed? Did you murder Kobe?
But comment or none, it seemed that the DNA evidence that was left on the airbag was indisputable. And on the 16th of August 2018, Neron Quarty is convicted of the murder of Kobe, being sentenced to 26 years in prison. Meanwhile, Lamps' involvement in this murder wouldn't be identified by the police until some time later, and unfortunately, by the time they worked out that Lamps was involved in the murder of Kobe, it was too late. And even with Kobe's murder successfully carried out, apparently the Wood Green mob was still thirsty for blood. In fact, apparently members in the area had even planned an attack on Kobe's funeral, with police getting intelligence and intercepting the crew in an insane police chase that was even caught on camera, with the cops ultimately foiling the planned ride out on the funeral.
First contact.
Hello, yes, I think there's been a shooting at Wood Green.
Sorry, there's been what, sorry?
I heard some gunshots fired, somebody on a motorbike.
Just over a month after the murder of Kobe, late at night on the 7th of March 2018, Lamps posted his location on Snapchat, seemingly gesturing for his ops to come and pull up on him. And he had shown quite clearly for the whole of North London to see that he was chilling outside the McDonald's at the Hollywood Bowl Entertainment Complex in Wood Green. Now, we already know that Lamps was known to have numerous enemies from all over London and a feared reputation in the area. And for those that wanted to cause him harm, this would be the perfect opportunity. And after getting the drop on Lamps, two unidentified individuals pulled up to the area on a moped, arriving at the Hollywood Bowl in Wood Green and spinning the block twice. On this ride, they seemingly caught Lamps sat with a group of people in the stairwell of the View Cinema in this complex. And for a moment, it even looked like Lamps was running towards the door ready for action, perhaps not realizing just how dangerous those people on that moped were. Because when Lamps approached the glass door leading out of the cinema, he was immediately shot in the head through the window. This shot was fatal, and Lamps was left dead at the scene. And Lamps' final moments were captured on CCTV, as well as amateur footage of emergency services trying to revive him at the scene, which once again is far too shocking to show you on YouTube. Anywho, after the shooting, the cinema was taped off and the area was considered the scene of a homicide. But the cops wouldn't have much to go on, because after the drill was done, the shooters immediately fled the scene on that moped without leaving a trace, leaving police truly baffled as to who committed what looked like the perfect crime. A drive-by shooting from a moving moped, with both the shooter and the driver wearing crash helmets, getting a headshot, and then immediately fleeing the scene, leaving no evidence. The killing of Lamps was such a mystery to the Met Police and the public, the case even ended up appearing on the TV crime documentary The Met Policing London, along with the Kobe incident.
The following day, the investigation into the shooting of Kelvin Odunyi is picked up by the same team investigating the murder of Kobe Nelson.
There is limited opportunities in relation to the identification of the suspects at this time.
So, who killed Lamps? Well, despite there being a whole bunch of crackpot theories floating around on Reddit and YouTube, a lot of different people all over London likely wanted Lamps dead. Because as we know, Wood Green and Lamps himself had many beefs all over London far beyond Tottenham.
Fuck Hoxton as well, yeah? A beef happening.
To this day, the crime remains unsolved. And even though Reddit detectives have several theories on who might have been responsible, there really isn't anything truly conclusive. And if there was, trust me, the cops would be on it before Reddit or me. But regardless of whether or not they even had anything to do with this crime, simply because of the ongoing feud between the two areas, following the killing of Lamps, Tottenham rappers would put the utmost disrespect on his name. KK from MPK posted a picture of the unfixed door from the crime scene, talking about the killing of Lamps on Bonham like it was goddamn Chirac.
Yeah, man, them niggas still ain't fixed that shit, boy. And they still trying to re-up on the customers on phone and grave.
RV from OFB drove past with the caption, "Ha ha." Abracadabra was later seen posting a snap at what appeared to be Lamps' grave site. And beyond the ops, even young drill fans on the internet were showing disrespect, with some going as far as to recreate the Lamps murder on GTA 5, reusing the original 999 audio recordings from the scene of the crime.
Hello, Met Police. Someone has been shot dead at Hollywood Green Cinema in Wood Green.
But eventually, the biggest disrespect on Lamps' name would come when younger NPK members would release an entire song dedicated to dissing Lamps. Over a year after his death, on May the 26th, 2019, NPK rappers Sin Squad dropped the song Kelvin's Coffin. The hook of the song is then basically saying that their shotgun is the same length as Kelvin or Lamps' coffin, as well as rapping that they're smoking on Mellow and Chop, fallen Wood Green members mentioned at the start of this story. In fact, Kelvin's Coffin was an unusually disrespectful song for the UK drill scene. Hell, it even made the news for being so demonic. But anyway, setting aside the music for a minute, in the streets, after Lamps was murdered, retaliations would apparently come immediately. The day after the murder, there was a massive fight outside of a school nearby where a boy was stabbed, which police said may have been related. Then, at the end of March 2018, another attack took place at Farringdon's Tinseltown Diner, where both a man and woman were filmed as being attacked on the floor in a confrontation apparently between MPK and Wood Green members. And soon after this physical altercation, on the 2nd of April 2018, just after 9:30 PM, a silver Vauxhall Mariva pulls up at Chalgrove Road, just round the corner from Northumberland Park Station, where shots are fired from a .32 caliber handgun in a drive-by shooting, apparently targeting an NPK member, but unfortunately the bullets didn't hit their intended target, instead hitting a teenage girl in the chest, leaving her dead at the scene. The victim was 17-year-old Tanisha Melbourne, a young girl from the Tottenham area who had been seen in the past on social media with rappers from OFB and MPK. No one was ever charged for this murder, despite the burned out car used for the drill being found in nearby Barnet only a few days later. And following the incident, people were talking about it on social media, even hashtagging NPK, with the media suggesting that all these events were linked together as part of the ongoing war between these two gangs. And so, with seemingly innocent 17-year-olds ending up dead in drive-by shootings, at this point the violence is so bad that local community activists are demonstrating and calling for change.
Where young people feel scared to go to Wood Green, and Wood Green young people feel scared to come to Tottenham, that should not happen in London.
Felix, what's up?
In July 2018, Tion Wayne gets out of jail looking mad crusty, hitting the ground running musically, getting himself a shape up, and dropping his fresh home song, Home. That was followed by another solo track called On My Life, but it was on features that Tion would be getting to that bag, taking his career to new heights. As in November 2018, Tion Wayne appears on the track Options with NSG, which goes on to become the biggest song of his career, charting at number 7. But naturally, not everybody was celebrating Tion's triumphant return to the rap game, as both RV and Heady One are seen hating on Tion on social media, saying they have to skip his part of the song. But in all fairness, there really wasn't anything to be jealous of when it came to Tion Wayne, because in the time he'd been locked up, Heady One had moved on to bigger things, signing his record deal and dropping big projects like his The One mixtape, spawning the classic drill anthem Golden Boot, along with his previous hit No Better, and that was followed up by his The One 2 project, which had more big hits like Banter on Me and Brony, and with big songs doing numbers amongst the fans, Heady would continue to make moves in the industry doing headline shows, and ending the year with the big drop of his song Of Course, easing into the start of 2019 with the biggest drop of his career to date, the track 1800 along with Dave that dropped on the 3rd of January 2019. This is a song that's basically all about paying £1,800 for a rusty shotgun to use on your ops. And the song includes lines about riding through the 9 with skengs, aka guns. But in reality, by this point Headie One was far from chopping ops at the farm block and more copping lamb chops from the farm shop, because 1800 with Dave ended up going 5 on the UK singles charts, really representing Headie One's commercial breakthrough moment. Nearly a year on from being ambushed and attacked on camera by ops outside of the show at a university, Headie One is landing top 5 hits on the charts and truly making a name for himself in the mainstream music industry. And so whilst Headie was headed for greatness and setting the template for the younger generation of OFB, on February the 4th, 2018, the song Brucket will drop, introducing the world to some of the younger generation of OFB rappers, including Bando K, Double L's and Boogie B. And soon there would be another big name joining that lineup, SJ, who would appear on the Farm Block anthem and the UK version of King Von's Took Her to the O, Bad B on the Niz, which released on October the 2nd, 2018. This was the first big hit featuring the OFB younger trio, Bando K, Double L's and SJ, with this track becoming an instant classic in the area, and SJ himself suggesting that ever since that song dropped, he's had the bad bees all over him. So finally, the youngers growing up on this estate had something to focus on. With these songs, they were building a legal form of income through music, giving them something else to focus on outside of their activity in the streets. But unfortunately, some of them would remain a little too close to the streets to take advantage of the opportunities that the rap game would soon offer. Because only a few weeks after the song Brucket was released, on February the 18th, 2018, a 19-year-old named Lewis Blackman, aka Dotty, gate crashes a party in Kensington. When he gets inside, he allegedly confronts Boogie B from OFB, robbing him of a chain and stabbing him before fleeing the house. However, when he gets outside, he's chased by Boogie B, who allegedly led a group of around 20 young men armed with weapons chasing Lewis. He was caught, stabbed in the back with a fatal blow administered by Boogie B, and then stabbed up around 13 more times by numerous teenagers who were part of that mob. A year later, Boogie B is jailed for murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role in leading the attack. The loss of Boogie B was a major blow for the OFB youngers, who at this point were still just emerging and making a name for themselves in the drill scene. A bit like Tion Wayne when he had that fight, Boogie B was a promising rapper, but one night of madness and the choice of violence ultimately left him in jail, facing a 2-decade-long sentence, and his music career completely over before it had really gotten a chance to flourish. But sadly, Boogie B wouldn't be the only one. On January the 12th, 2019, a triple stabbing takes place after a confrontation between young men from N9 and members from OFB and MPK in the 4th Street McDonald's near Wood Green. And it was rumoured that SJ from OFB was involved in this incident. 3 men were stabbed, and the CCTV of the entire fight inside the McDonald's leaked, which again is way too shocking to show you on YouTube. But anyway, with this kind of shit going down, it's safe to say that the beef between crews from Tottenham and Green City is truly frying. And the hatred between these two groups has of course made its way to drill music, and by this point at the start of 2019, Bando K, SJ and Double L's have become the hottest trio in drill music. On January the 26th, their song Purge drops, which is littered with references to catching and shooting anything that's green, and at least in SJ's case, the entire world would soon see just how serious him and his friends were about catching anything green and killing them. As on February the 21st, 2019, SJ takes his mother's Peugeot 307 along with Sneaks and Osav from NPK out for a drive, eventually parking this car back at the Broadwater Farm Estate, with the car being a meeting point for a gang meetup the following day. And then on the evening of February the 22nd, 2019, SJ would meet with MPK affiliates Osav, Sneaks, as well as 3 other men at his mother's parked car. At the car, they would change clothes, riding out around an hour later on push bike towards Wood Green. This group of cyclists grew to include SJ, Sneaks, Trills, Osav, Shems, and 2 other unidentified males riding through the city with their faces covered. Upon the arrival to a Wood Green McDonald's, Sneaks, Trills, and Osav, along with an unidentified male, enter the restaurant and attempt to rob somebody. And then after this altercation, the group spot another group of 4 people, 2 of whom are confirmed affiliates of Wood Green's 2-2 mob. This includes a man named Jason Frazier and another named Kamali Gabardon Link, aka K1. So after countless lyrics saying they'll kill anything they catch that's green, after spotting their green ops in Wood Green territory, all of the Tottenham boys involved in the ride-out drop their bikes, with some drawing weapons and running towards that group of enemies. Apparently Shems pulled a semi-automatic handgun, firing indiscriminately in the direction of the Wood Green members, ultimately missing the target with a bullet going into a nearby shop, narrowly missing innocent customers. customers. Meanwhile, SJ and Sneaks both pull out large silver knives. Trills pulled out a black knife, and OSAB had his hand in his coat, which the court were told represented a concealed weapon. At this point, the Wood Green affiliates attempted to flee the scene whilst being chased by this gang of masked and armed young men. In fact, these scenes were even captured on amateur video by shocked diners eating nearby in a Nando's restaurant. So, attempting to flee, K1 and Frazier split up, taking different routes to try and get back to their car. And during this attempted escape, Frazier is cornered where he's beaten, stabbed 8 times, and shot in the buttocks with a shotgun. Moments before the gang are able to deliver a fatal blow to him, however, K1 arrives in a silver Vauxhall Corsa, driving over the gang's bikes and crushing the one belonging to Trills. In this failed attempt to scare off the attackers, K1 unfortunately became the primary target of their attack, with the drillers from Tottenham leaving behind Frazier, who miraculously survives those injuries. So at this point, everybody is running towards K1 in the Vauxhall Corsa that he's driving, with Shems raising a handgun ready to fire at the car, and K1 trying to spin around the car, but ultimately being trapped between 2 other parked vehicles. And whilst he's pinned there, the gang unload on that Corsa, attempting to get to K1. One person shoots out a car window before jumping on the bonnet, trying to smash through the windscreen with a gun. Another person jumps on the hood of the car with a machete, trying to chop through the glass. Now, for the record, K1 allegedly had a shotgun in the trunk of this car and multiple knives, all of which he couldn't retrieve whilst this attack was going on. And so at this point, it seems that K1 realizes that he is stuck, and his only option is to flee the car, quickly jumping out and running into the nearby Coffee and Cream hair salon. And this shop was open, full of customers, including a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, a baby, and their shocked parents. But the gang apparently weren't bothered by the amount of witnesses. And so as they rushed into the store, the gang descended on K1 with knives out, inflicting multiple vicious stab wounds, leaving K1 fatally wounded, ultimately dying later in the hospital. K1 was killed in one of the most savage and shocking murders to ever take place on the streets of London. The attack was described by the BBC as reminiscent of a Hollywood film, but to make things even more crazy, after the murder took place, the entire group cycled together back to Broadwater Farm, right up to SJ's mum's Peugeot, changing their clothes in front of the estate's many CCTV cameras, with the police apparently using Broadwater Farm CCTV surveillance video to identify 5 people involved in this attack. But that identification would take some time, and for at least a little while the police would have no idea who was responsible. In fact, just after the brazen murder, police immediately made their way to the Broadwater Farm estate, even stopping Trills of NPK, who gave the police false information, and since he'd already hidden his weapon, the police had nothing to hold him on, with him walking away from officers boldly proclaiming, "I hope you lot cut down on knife violence and all that." But if you thought that was brazen, things only get more shocking. As following the murder of K1 with the direct involvement of SJ continues rapping along with Band OK and Double L's, dropping numerous songs in the months that followed the murder of K1, including the May 5th release of the trio's biggest track, Ambush, which has unflattering lyrics in it where SJ talks about pressing triggers and being a chest shot chinger when it comes to stabbings. Now obviously these are just general lines talking about the lifestyle that he witnessed growing up, but unfortunately for SJ, this track and its references to the violent gang life he lived would be used in court as supporting evidence that SJ and his associates were known to carry weapons and engage in gang activity. But Ambush was really one of the more tame examples, because there were numerous examples of SJ and other members dropping lyrics that seemed to reference the killing of K1.
K-Wiz in my risen, hell on fuck karate, with street fighting Joe.
The worst of it really came out during the OFB Youngers crib session with Tim Westwood. Double L's is dropping lyrics about raising the crime rate in the N22 area. Jay went on to diss Lamps numerous times too, and the MPK Youngers were also there to drop some incredibly disrespectful lyrics as well. In fact, some of them were so offensive they ended up being censored or taken out of the final version that was posted to YouTube, but because a lot of these lyrics are in other songs or freestyles, it's pretty easy to find out what they were saying. Like MPK Tugger referencing the crew's involvement in the 4th Street stabbing outside of McDonald's at the start of 2019, as well as another brazen line that also appears in Kelvin's coffin, saying, "Something got tanned in the 9, my mum's like, oh no, what happened? I said you're late on news, the gang's just done a quadruple stabbing." This was seemingly a reference to a 2018 incident where 4 men were stabbed in Edmonton following a car crash, with the authorities linking it to a triple drive-by that occurred only 24 hours before, where a 22-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy were both injured by a shotgun blast in a minicab. Madness. But one of the most shocking lines that had also appeared on the Sin Squad song Anti-Green saw MPK members mentioning Y. who is allegedly a relative of K1, saying that he's suicidal and that they're going to shoot him in the face, with Tugger going on to rap lyrics that were also used in NPK's True Story Part 2, where they mocked Y. for apparently being depressed about K1's murder, with the final incriminating line being delivered by Sneaks, who was quite literally there for the K1 murder, saying, "Anything green get bun, Lamps got put in a spliff, and K1 got put in a blunt." Well, This wasn't a great look. By the 21st of April, Trills and Shems of MPK had been arrested. Then on May the 16th, 2019, it's revealed that SJ has also been arrested for murder only days after their Westwood crib session is recorded, with the final suspects being Osav and Sneaks, who were arrested on the 10th of July. And what's...
We're gonna stop right there as part 2 of North London's bloody gang war, OFB and 9. If you enjoyed this reaction, go check out part 1, you know what I'm saying? Word. We're on the road to being subscribers. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you interact with next. Turn on post notifications. Follow me at Graham at Low Official. Link in the description. Check my main channel as well. Link in the description. Without further ado, man, we out here.